Welcome back. This time we're talking about Pete's Dragon, Disney's remake of its 1977 live-action cartoon hybrid. Now that film was a musical and very much 1970s Disney. I saw it as a kid in the 80s. I remembered enjoying it as a kid. I actually thought about possibly rewatching it. I looked up the original trailer on YouTube and went, wow, this is a film that doesn't look like it's aged well. So I went ahead and just skipped that. And in the end, it really doesn't matter because other than the fact that we have a young boy named Pete, we have a dragon named Elliot, and we have a few characters that sort of occupy the same places that the characters did in the original movie, this is a new movie. This is a new story, and frankly, I'm betting most of the target audience have no idea that this is actually a remake. And unlike most remakes, and I have to say this again, having not rewatched it as an adult, I feel this is a much improved product. I do have some story issues, and I'll touch on them without getting into spoilers in a little bit, but I like the characters, I like the acting, I like the direction. I thought it's a very well shot film, making great use of the Pacific Northwest scenery to have some really downright beautiful shots. The story follows a young boy named Pete, played by Fegley, who I recognize from Person of Interest. He had a 3 or 4 episode arc on there and was a very memorable character. But anyway, as I said, in this movie he plays Pete, who's this young boy who has basically lived the last 6 years in the forests of the Pacific Northwest. And his constant companion and protector and friend is Elliot, this mythical dragon. And as we learn, there's actually these legends of how there are dragons in the Pacific Northwest. They just are never seen, except for this one old man who saw it when he was younger, played by Robert Redford. Now his daughter is played by Bryce a woman named Grace, and she is a forester. And one day while out in the forest looking at this logging company's logging axe, the company is actually co-owned by her fiance, played by Bentley, and his brother, played by Karl. They come across Pete, and they bring him back to civilization, and this ultimately leads to him being this, wild child and trying to learn how to, reacclimate to society while all the time wanting to get back to Elliot. And Karl Urban's character gets a glimpse of the dragon and goes out to try to capture him because he thinks it's going to make him a bunch of money. And that's a very sloppy summary of this movie. And the reason why it's kind of sloppy is that the pacing is a little weird in this, because the story is not told like the trailers would lead us to believe it would be. A lot of what we see is sort of the high action moments of the trailer actually happen late in the first act going into the second act. And pretty much what that last third act we actually never see in the trailers, which is good because it didn't spoil it. But the story is essentially what we would expect. That you have Pete, you have him getting back into civilization, and then people realizing that Elliot is real, and the results of that. It's just told in a slightly different way than I was expecting. And this does lead to some of those story problems that I alluded to earlier. Namely, there's a couple moments, 2 specifically, and I can't really get into it without spoilers, but let's just say that characters acted in a way that honestly didn't make sense. It furthered the plot, and so that's why they acted that way. But if a real person in the real world was in that situation, I don't believe they would have acted that way. And it's annoying. It's a pet peeve of mine from a storytelling aspect. But ultimately, the story is strong enough, and the characters are strong enough with good performances from the actors that I'm able to ignore that and enjoy the overall movie. It was not as big an issue as it might be with a lesser movie. And a lot of the credit for that has to go to the director, David Lowery. I looked his credits up, and frankly, I didn't recognize anything that he's ever done. This is his first big budget film, and I think he nailed it pretty good. I said, this is not a perfect film, but this is a lot of fun, and one that I think will entertain the entire family. So if you haven't seen Pete's Dragon, let me know what you thought about it, especially if you've seen the original. How do you think they compare? As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other reviews, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.